back when I was growing up, there were no cell phones. Kids actually had to get out and play. They actually had friends. Sometimes they actually had to, you know, participate in, I don't know, fighting for what they believe in. There was less bullies, in theory, back when I was growing up than there are now, because now people get bullied online like all the time. Where's that correct? It's not. It's not correct at all. There's a whole bunch of keyboard tough guys in the background that are trying to do all kinds of weird shit. And it's not cool. It's not good. It hurts. Welcome to the show. Ladies and gentlemen, when will be enough? When will enough BS happen that you're like, well, this seems really odd. Maybe we shouldn't really be adventuring down this road. Or maybe the fact that the reason that we're adventuring down this road is because maybe the actual ground zero for all the fraud seems to be in Minnesota. What if, states are tied to the fraud because we now know that there's billions of dollars that have been fraudulently stolen. We know that there's been hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars flown out of a small airport in Minneapolis, right? We know all this stuff. We know now that there's people all over the country that are going to places that, lo and behold, become fraudulent, such as in Columbus, Ohio. There's reports of major things happening in New York. California, for instance, I mean, the high-speed rail, that was, 24 billion, I believe it was, worth of a deal that never happened. Where is our money going, ladies and gentlemen? I'm going to play something for you, and I really hope that everybody listens, everybody pays attention to what is being said from a great sheriff out of Florida, Mr. Grady Judd. He is a fantastic sheriff. There are still some sheriffs that are law-abiding. What can we do but continue to show the truth and the facts of what's going on? Because with enough people's eyes being shown what truthfully is going on in our country, maybe one of the best situations that might happen is, I don't even know how it would happen, but maybe if everybody in power, from state legislator to people in Washington, lose their, not all, because there are some very good people that are trying to get to the bottom of what's going on, like Tim Burchett, for instance, Jim Jordan, James Comer, several other people that are seriously trying to get to the bottom of what's going on. Maybe people that more than likely fraudulently are put into positions of power. I would love to see these people held accountable for what they've done, from the mechanisms that got them there to begin with, such as George Soros. You kind of look around the fact of everything that's going on that's being talked about, from the Insurrection Act being implemented at some point in Minnesota, to Candace Owens talking like she's been talking, to Tucker Carlson talking about, Russia nuking the EU. Who knows? Maybe the conversations that are being had amongst people, maybe it's a way to root out people that are divulging information that may be real or may be fake, but most certainly maybe isn't supposed to be talked about. I don't know, man. This stuff is getting ridiculous. But let's start with Grady Judd because he's freaking fantastic.
Well, I don't call them undocumented immigrants. I call them illegal immigrants because that's what they are. The reason they're not documented is they're not legal, okay? They're illegal immigrants. 74% of the illegal immigrants that we've detained have had criminal charges against them, okay? The other 26% were riding with them, okay? So when we stop a car, we run a warrants check on everybody in the car. When there's a call for service, we run a warrants check on the victim, the suspect, and all the witnesses, okay? We call that 26% collateral. But 3 out of 4 of them have committed another criminal charge. Now think about that for a second. They couldn't commit that crime if they weren't here, but they did. So now you're having to take your taxpayer money and my taxpayer money and pay for the prosecution of those folks, pay for the public defender that defends them, pay for the jail and the prison sentence depending on what the charges are. So and the majority of the 26% that was left out of the 74% of them had criminal charges. They were what we call collaterals, and most of them were with the person committing the crime, and that's the numbers that we have so far, and those. So how many illegal immigrants have we arrested this year? We've arrested 557 that have criminal charges, as well as they're here illegally. That's just this year. But here's the thing and let me focus on this. And I know on social media people have already tuned out, but you need to tune back in and listen to this. The reason that you see ICE flooding into Minnesota and Minneapolis and into Los Angeles, into these big cities, is because they refuse to turn over the illegal immigrants who are being arrested by the local police department where there's outstanding ICE warrants. If they would have simply, instead of fighting back and pushing back against the federal government, instead of violating the federal law, which is what these leaders have done there, if they just said, look, ICE, we don't want our police actively engaged in ICE enforcement, but you can come in our jails, and as we make arrests, you can go through your evaluation process and remove those criminals that are committing crime against the citizens of the United States and against each other. You can remove them. Then they wouldn't be flooding these big blue areas with all of these ICE agents. So it's the policy and the laws that the California and the Illinois and the Minnesota and the Oregons and the Portlands and the city, it's the laws that they've passed that's created the environment for ICE to have to go in there and do it all on their own. And it puts the ICE agents at additional risk. The local law enforcement officers have already taken the risk to arrest these people. They're in custody. They're locked up. They're in a county lockup or a city lockup someplace, or a state lockup for their causes. But yet they're telling the city, the county, or the state prison system, turn these illegals that have committed crime back out into the community on our people. And so if ICE can't get help from the state and the local folks, then they have to send more resources in order to do the job. All of this could have been avoided. All of this could have been. You don't see that happening in Florida. You don't see ICE sending 1,000 people down here to go into Miami or Jacksonville or Tampa or Orlando or our big metro areas. You don't see that. You know why? Because we're cooperating. And this same environment could be in every one of those states if the state had cooperated. But instead, you've elected a bunch of people there, governors, primarily, House and Senate members, mayors, city commissioners, county commissioners, that said, hey, we're going to let these criminals that are here illegally committing crime against the people of the state of California or Minnesota or wherever, we're going to allow them to come back out into the community and commit more crime against you rather than turn them over to our federal partners. That's why you're seeing all this scrum all over the nation. That's why you're seeing it. If they were cooperating like Florida was cooperating, there would not be the protest, there would not be the conflict, people wouldn't be angry, they wouldn't be going to businesses because they would be caught up like they are in Florida when they're committing crime and we turn them over to ICE. They're already caught and they're out of the country. That's why you're seeing this. It's created by the law and the practice and the policy of the elected officials at the state level, the county level, and the city level, telling them to oppose federal law. Now, why in the world you want those people in those positions that think it's all right to oppose the law, that think more of the criminals than they do the suspects, I don't know. That's why we call this the free state of Florida, because we're for the people. They're for the criminals.
So what you just heard there from Grady Judd is literally laying out the facts of what is going on in one particular area, but when you look at the one particular area, it seems like that one particular area has ties to all sorts of different areas throughout the country, from Columbus, to New York. They're following the money, and that's the main key. You follow the money. The money is root of all evil, and when it comes to this, it is nothing but evil. It is stealing our hard-earned taxpayer money that's supposed to go to our country, our citizens, to try to make our country better, to help people that need help. And when you see the amount of fraud that's going on and the money being stolen, it just makes you say, what in the world is going on? And if it's not making you say that, then maybe you just don't know what's going on. And that's a really sad fact, because there are certainly people that most certainly don't know what's going on because of the simple fact that they listen to one side and that's it. I listen to both sides. And the thing is that when you listen to both sides and you listen to people that speak truth and they literally are able to look you dead in the face and say what they believe, that's because they don't have to search. They don't have to search for memories either in the left bank, the right bank, whatever. They don't have to search for any of that, because what they're speaking is what is really in their heart, in their mind, and it's very, very simple to speak when you believe what you are saying. Ladies and gentlemen, I am concerned with our country because of the simple fact that the way it is now is not the way it was when I was growing up. Okay? And maybe one of the reasons that it perceives to be that way is because back when I was growing up, there were no cell phones. Kids actually had to get out and play. They actually had friends. Sometimes they actually had to, participate in, fighting for what they believe in. There was less bullies, in theory, back when I was growing up than there are now, because now people get bullied online like all the time. Where's that correct? It's not. It's not correct at all. There's a whole bunch of keyboard tough guys in the background that are trying to do all kinds of weird shit. And it's not cool. It's not good. It hurts the kids of today's generations. Because my father instilled in me this straight up American spirit. And if kids aren't taught that, they don't know anything different than what is happening today throughout the country and most certainly within Minnesota. I mean, I really hope that corrupt individuals literally get held accountable, because without being held accountable, this stuff will continue. The best way for a disinfectant is people to make people know that this was going on, legitimately going on. And the people that are fighting to protect it are implicated, because I guarantee you, if I had to bet, their hand is in the cookie jar, and that money has been padding their pockets for years and years and years. How do you think Tim Walz wound up getting picked for a sham election? One, Kamala Harris most certainly never won any type of, being the head of the DNC to become president. She was installed, just like Tim Walz was installed. So who's installing these people is who is in control of those people. It's so freaking simple. Let's move on to this one.
And this job, and these people who want to say follow ICE, and film ICE, you know what? You can protest; they have that right. But when you cross that line, and we've proven it, if you interfere or impede or assault an ICE officer, you will be prosecuted. And one thing I'm pushing for right now, Laura, we're going to create a database where those people that are arrested for interference, impediment, assault, we're going to make them famous. We're going to put their face on TV. We're going to let their employers in their neighborhoods, in their schools, know who these people are. Because as you said, a lot of these people, they say they're taking time off work to protest. I bet you a lot of them are calling in sick. I bet you a lot of their employers don't know what they're doing. But we're going to make sure everybody knows who they are. We're going to broadcast. They want to broadcast the ICE officer that was nearly killed all over the internet. We're going to broadcast every one of these people we arrest.
So what you just seen there was Tom Holman talking about the fact of making these people famous. You want to dox people for just being out there doing their job, whether you want to admit that they're doing their job or not. That's a problem. That's putting people in harm's way. It's putting innocent people in harm's way. Are there innocent people in harm's way in the protest? I'll adventure and say, sure there is, because innocent people can be dictated on what to think, because they're not smart enough to actually do their own investigation and read what is really going on. So therefore, all of a sudden, you have all these women that are trying to be front and center on the protests. And here's another scary fact. Something that I've been seeing quite a bit is a whole lot of big people wearing press blazers or vests, whatever you want to call them. Big guys. Ladies and gentlemen, I am really concerned with what is going on. What if, for instance, not too long ago, within the last 48 hours or so, there was a lot of chatter that Iran was going to be hit. The airspace was shut down around Iran. There was planes flying in, and I'm not sure about out, but I know in to Iran from China. And at the same particular day that this was allegedly to happen, Verizon went down. You might have been one of the people that lost cell service. There was particular situation with Verizon. Since Trump became president / got elected, Verizon has gone down at least 3 times. Certainly 3 times that we know about. Let's just say, for instance, it's odd that the strike was supposed to happen on the same day that Verizon and other companies apparently, but we'll say Verizon, all of a sudden you couldn't communicate. What if that's like a dry run of saying, hey, you do this, we're going to do this. You see what I'm saying? Ladies and gentlemen, it is a scary time, and I really hope that we come out on top. We, the American people, not the corrupt, crooked governments. And I say governments because of the simple fact that people within states are the corrupt governments. The corrupt government in Washington have to do with the people that have put this into play. What in the world? That have put this into play for years and decades. I mean, shit, Joe Biden, he was in Congress, I'm sorry, in the Senate for what, 50 something years? Mitch McConnell, pretty close to the same. Chuck Schumer, pretty much the same. I bet you if we got paper ballots and we literally voted like we should be, how many people do you think would actually still be in office? It's a very, very substantial question. And if that happened, and we actually literally were able to vote our ballots, count our vote ballots in one day, like it's supposed to be, instead of going for days, weeks, whatever the case might be, how many do you think that are in power now would still be in power if we did it the correct and right way? How many people? And I'm going to leave you with this.
And we're in a position right now where we have residents that are asking the very limited number of police officers that we have to fight ICE agents on the street, to stand by their neighbors. We cannot be at a place right now in America where we have two governmental entities that are literally fighting one another. Why are we put in this position? We're put in this position because we have approximately 600 police officers in Minneapolis, far fewer that are able to work at any given time. And there are approximately 3,000 ICE agents in the area. 3,000. And we're in a position right now.
So what you just seen there is the mayor calling for the Minneapolis Police Department to fight federal agents. And the police chief, or whatever he is, the guy in the leather jacket, I think he's starting to understand that he is a pawn, and that is all. See you guys next time. It's a crazy world we live in, but it's the reality of things, isn't it? What can we do? Pray and hope and believe that things will be set free, because if it's not, we're freaking so screwed. And the problem is that America could not be defeated from the outside. It had to be defeated from the inside. And the only way to defeat America from the inside is to commit fraud. Fraud on every single level that is even remotely thinkable. Yippee-yo.